Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Thursday, the 28th of May. That makes this the news and events for Wednesday, May 27th, day 1553 of Russia's three-day special military operation in Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexeyevich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you live from this major European capital that is currently under air raid warning. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Mr. Local. Hey, T-Bone. There's our buddy Nightshade. Hey, Nightshade. Good evening, Steve. 007. Hey, Seawolf. Hey, Nicola Jones. Hey, Truth Hurts. Hey, Sav Master. I'm doing okay. Hey, Birdie. Martin Bennett. Good evening. Hey, Carl. Hey, Stu. There's Daryl Roberts and Nicola Jones. How you guys doing, Yvonne? Hey, Manuel. How you doing, buddy? Hey, Bernard. There's Arna. Arna, how you doing? Hey, Den. Hey, Kiwi Annie. Thanks for standing up for me in the comments section. That was very charming and nice. Thank you. Hey, George. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Tar Mac. And Anthony Tommy Tom. Hey, Richard. Buonasera, Vittoria. Marilyn Fuller, how you doing, darling? Nice to see you. How's everybody tonight? Hey, Yogi. Hey, Yogi. Hey, John. Akron. I haven't seen... Hey, Jan. Hey, Sarah. I haven't seen Jan Halverson come in yet. The very patient, long-suffering Jan Halverson. Hey, Mad Mike, who is our sponsor tonight. Should have been our sponsor last week, but I messed up the schedule. I was sick last Tuesday, had a night off, and then didn't get the schedule right. So, Jan, thank you very much for your patience. Well, if he shows up, we'll see. But if Jan shows up, let's give him a thanks, everybody. Hey, Sammy. Hey, Sousy. Hey, Illuminated Core. Everybody's here tonight. Hey, Mike now. Hey, McNally. Oh, no. There's Maddie Wright. And Feisty. Hey, Feisty. All right, well, let's get into it, shall we? If we start, as we always do, with last night's missile and drone attacks. No missiles last night. Last night, for the second day in a row, the Russians fired less than 170 drones, 163 last night, of which 150 were shot down, 92% interception rate. I mean, it's hard to ask for much more than that. So great job to the guys. And the drones that got through still caused some havoc. There were hits of 9 drones reported in 8 locations, plus down debris in another 4. Now, this is the second day with less than 170 drones. Usually, when the Russians are planning a big program, right, a big night like we had last Saturday, we usually see 4 or 5 days consecutively with less than 170 drones. Now, Moscow is threatening, right? In fact, not only is the Kremlin threatening, not only is Putin threatening, and all of his mouthpieces to level Kyiv, but the State Duma, officials in the State Duma are publicly calling for the complete destruction of Kyiv, and not just the complete destruction of Kyiv, but of all of the railways and bridges from Europe that bring the weapons and supplies into Ukraine. One of the great failures, as Lieutenant General Ben Hodges is wont to point out, one of the great failures of the Russians' campaign in Ukraine has been their inability to target the logistics coming into the country from Europe. Never once have the Russians managed to interdict a supply train from Europe. Hasn't happened. Why? Because the only way that they can do it is to fly and drop missiles from the planes. That's the only way to do it. And they can't fly in Ukrainian airspace. Could they use Belarusian airspace? In all likelihood, they could. And so if they're going to go after those Western logistics, it means they're going to have to fly through Belarusian airspace and then attempt to hit those targets in Ukraine without ever getting in range of the Ukrainian Air Force and their countermeasures. Tough shooting. I actually, tonight I was at a meeting with some people, and one of the people there is a former F-16 maintenance officer. So her role in the United States Air Force was to oversee the maintenance of F-16s and other fighter jets for the United States Air Force. Here in Ukraine, she does the same thing. And she mentioned to me, we were talking this evening, and she mentioned to me about what it's like coming into the office some days. And she said, just the other morning, she came into the office, said to a pilot, "How's your day?" And he said, "Good, I just got off rotation. I just shot down 6 Shaheds." And the idea that that is so commonplace. American pilots, she said, would die for the opportunity. Literally in some cases. But would kill for the opportunity to be able to shoot at something other than just target practice and to do it so effectively day in and day out. What they're doing, she says, is incredible. We don't hear a lot about the F-16s in Ukraine, but they are out there every day defending the Ukrainian skies. And the guys, by all accounts, are doing a hell of a job. They're doing a hell of a job. But the point is that they're the ones who are going to defend us from these threats that are coming out of the Russian parliament and the Kremlin. Threats against the sovereignty of this nation, against this city of civilians, against civilian infrastructure like rail, bridges, and railroads that the country absolutely depends on. With air travel shut down, the only way in and out of this country is by train or by bus. Now, today you may have seen that against this backdrop of threats from the Russians, we see a shortage, as we have talked about many times here. Hey, Annalata. As we've talked about many times here, a shortage of air defense assets, particularly Patriot interceptor missiles. Ukraine just doesn't have them. And they are facing an enemy who is saying, "We are going to bomb the shit out of you." In this environment, Zelensky sent a personal letter to Donald Trump. You know how Donald Trump loves a personal letter. Loves a personal letter that praises him and thanks him for all he has done. And couldn't he, in his generosity and wisdom, help Ukraine out a little bit here? Especially since you just denied us a license to produce our own Patriot interceptors, and you gave a license to Poland to do it, which is of no help to us at all, by the way. So this letter in desperation is sent to Trump and all of Congress. And the practical upshot, and this is, I don't want to talk to politicians. I don't want to talk to anybody except the people at McDonnell Douglas, the people at Boeing, the people at Raytheon. That's who I want to hear me. You got to get on the horn to all of the politicians that you have bought, and you have got to tell them to pressure Trump to send these interceptors here to Ukraine. Why? Look at what the Ukrainians have done. They have built an army on ATACMS and HIMARS and Patriots from the United States. And we won't even sell them the bullets so they can use these systems? Who is ever going to want to buy American products again? Who's ever going to want an F-35 if America cuts off service to the F-16s? Who's going to want that? Who's going to trust the United States to fulfill their contractual obligations to if they see America fail Ukraine at this? It is the greatest, in my mind. If the United States fails to address this issue, we are looking at one of the greatest strategic failures, moral failures, and tactical failures of the American government ever. Ever. This will kill us in the international market. It's insanity. Ukraine got these air defense assets, made them integral to their defense, and now they can't get bullets for them. That's gonna wreck us. It's gonna wreck us. Ukraine, of course, is suffering this shortage of these weapons. And Russia is threatening these attacks. See, I think that is what Trump wants. I think that is the goal. I think it is. To destroy American power in the world, to destroy the American economy, to consolidate all the wealth of the United States into maybe 400 families, the way that it is in Russia. 400 families own 98.9% of all of Russia's wealth. 400 people. You think we got wealth inequality in the West? Fuck that noise. The Russian people are poor, and 400 families are richer than Croesus. It's insanity. It's insanity. Right now, according to military intelligence sources here in Ukraine, the Russians have positioned 2,000 Shaheds, 30 ballistic missiles, and 18 cruise missiles at known launch sites across Russia and the temporarily occupied territories. We are expecting a large-scale attack at any time. Now, again, normally, when you see those lower drone numbers under 170 a night, it means the Russians are saving up. If these are already loaded and launched, how long before this next hit comes? I'm guessing it's going to be between Thursday and Saturday. That's my guess. I think we're going to have an easy night tonight. Relatively, I don't mean to minimize the deaths and destructions that will be caused. But it won't be the kind of night we had on Saturday. That's coming for us. Probably sometime in the next 96 hours. We know that Russia's getting ready to do this, right? They've told us they're going to do it. They've threatened diplomats to evacuate Kyiv, told foreigners to evacuate, gave me orders. The Kremlin gave me orders to get my American ass out of Kyiv. And my response to that, as you are all well aware, is go fuck yourself. Nobody is going anywhere. And that, by the way, is the same response that Russia got from every single embassy in Ukraine. No one is leaving. No one is shutting down. No one is shutting down. Russia's made... See, We're at a critical point in this war. We're at a very critical point in this war. We're at a point in this war where both sides are trying to enforce the most pressure on the other. But look at how different the tactics are and where the focus is. For the Russians, it's all about scaring the world with Oreshnik. Scare the world with nuclear strikes. I am not bluffing. Nuclear, we will burn you. As if they could. They are threatening and threatening and threatening. But not much is happening. Oreshnik is a failure. The world is laughing at them. Laughing at them. We know 1 in 2 Oreshniks fail. Really? You're going to threaten us with a nuclear weapon that 1 out of 2 times explodes on your own territory. Get the fuck out of here. Go ahead, I dare you. Launch 2 of them. I fucking dare you. Screw the nukes on them and launch 2. Whatever damage gets done in Ukraine will be mirrored by the damage done in Russia, because the second one's going to fail. And it's going to come down on your heads, just like 2 out of the last 4 have. So give me a fucking break. What we are seeing, very interestingly, is the threats of missile launches from the Russians, the threats to the international community, where we have quite a bit on that tonight. We'll talk about that. Threats. It's threats and intimidation, because they can't do shit on the battlefield. You know who's doing shit on the battlefield? The Ukrainians. And the Russians know it. Make no mistake. If I know it, the Russians definitely know it. They know it. And the Ukrainians, it seems to me, are doing something very interesting. And I can't say that I understand it, but think through this with me for a second. We saw them use the storm shadows to knock out a command and control point and communication point in Luhansk. Storm shadows, the rarest and most expensive weapon that the Ukrainians have. The most precise weapon the Ukrainians have. One that they only use when they have a high degree of confidence in their victory and when the target is a high value target. And just last week, we saw them hit this Luhansk command and control point. We don't know if it was the regional HQ or exactly what it was, but we have to agree that it was likely a very valuable target, or believed to be a very valuable target. Now, just last night, we get reports of storm shadows being fired at the Baltimore Air Base in Voronezh, Russia. An air base that is home to a wing of Su-34s, I think. But anyway, fighter jets that regularly fire missiles at Ukraine. We saw them hit the Taganrog aviation repair plant, where all these bombers and jets get repaired with storm shadows last night. We have reports that storm shadows struck the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet in Sevastopol. And they're the guys in charge of the missile-carrying ships that send the missiles into Ukraine every night from the Black Sea. It seems to me, now we don't know what was in Luhansk, but these other 3 hits we can tie directly to Russia's ability to execute a scaled missile and drone strike on Ukraine. These very valuable weapons are, I believe, being used to disrupt Russia's ability to organize the very attacks that Putin is threatening. I think that's what's going on. Now it could be something else. It could be that maybe they're not storm shadows at all. Maybe Ukraine has a new missile that we don't know about, and people think it's a storm shadow. Or maybe the Ukrainians have lots of storm shadows, but they're not telling us about it. And they've been saving them up for this time with maximum pressure. When air defense assets are at their lowest, Russians are threatening the biggest attacks, and we need to do everything we can to disrupt the organizations that are responsible for those attacks. That could be. That could certainly be. Now, again, I don't know why these particular targets are chosen at this time, but it does seem to be a pattern to me. There is another question. Maybe we're not wrong. Maybe there aren't that many storm shadows. Maybe they're using them up right now because they want to disrupt that campaign. And that's more important than having a stockpile of storm shadows. That even the reason that they were stockpiled all this time is in fact because they would be needed at some future moment, and that moment has come. And maybe after tomorrow there won't be any more storm shadows. We don't know. I certainly don't know. But there is definitely something going on. And I think that it's very much tied to the reality on the battlefield that the Ukrainians have the momentum. We have reports of Russians retreating in Zaporizhia, retreating from Molotov, which is a city that has been under siege for 1,500 days. And we're on day 1,553 of this war. They haven't been able to take it for the whole war. That's in Zaporizhia, Tycho. The Russians are retreating there. They're retreating from Molotov. The village of Stepnogorsk was just taken. Molotov to Mariupol is a straight line. And that cuts Zaporizhia and Kherson and Crimea off from mainland Russia. If the Ukrainians can just push through there, the Germans have not released the Taurus. That has not happened. If they can just push through there, they can cut the land bridge to Crimea. Now look, it's clear that the Southern Military District is dying on the vine. Dying on the vine. The road to Crimea is a no-go for all civilian traffic. Anything on the M14 highway is a military target by definition, despite the fact that Russian command issued orders to all truck drivers to find civilian stencils and stencil their vehicles up to look civilian, which is against the Geneva Convention. But they did this. They told them, like, stencil bread on your truck like it's a bread truck or whatever, when the Ukrainians already know that the order has been given that no civilian traffic can go on those roads. Who are you painting it for? Exactly. Ridiculous. And we are getting videos every single day. Look, the Ukrainians have quadrupled the number of mid-range strikes happening every day since December. Quadrupled. Every day we get new video from the M14 highway, the road of death, of just one convoy, not even individual trucks, convoys after convoys burning by the side of the road. It looks like nothing's getting through. Look at what's happening at the far southern, how does an empire die? How does an empire die? It dies from the fringes inward to the center. And the center is Moscow, so that'll be the last to fall. What's the farthest edge fringe of the empire in occupied Crimea? Kherson. The Kherson Peninsula, right across from Kherson City. What's happening there right now? The Russians have agreed to let the Ukrainians evacuate the civilian population because the lack of food, the lack of medicine, the lack of clean drinking water, the unsustainability of life is now leading to horrible rumors of the most unspeakable things. The people there are turning to cannibalism because there isn't any food to eat. And in a rare act of mercy, it appears as though the Russians are going to let the Ukrainians evacuate them out. Now, we'll see. The odds are probably 50-50 that once the boats are on the river, the Russians will just shell the shit out of them. That could certainly happen. But we'll see. That's how bad it is at the edges of this incompetent empire. That's how bad it is. Now, if that's true, or if something like it is true from the Melitopol Molotov-Machka line, if Russian supplies aren't getting through all the way south of there, then how bad is it from that fringe back to Melitopol? When the Ukrainians break through, they're going to find out. And I believe the Ukrainians are going to break through there. They have to. Russia right now is feeding its people a propaganda campaign that it's probably okay to stop the war where it is. Right? Just stop it at the line of contact, and we have Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Luhansk, mostly. And so there is this campaign inside of Russia that seems to be testing the waters. Could we stop at the current line of contact? For the Ukrainians to get the psychological win that they need, it would be extraordinarily helpful if at the very moment the Russian people were convinced to stop the war at the line of contact, the line of contact suddenly did not include Zaporizhia and Kherson. That would be a moment of cognitive dissonance for the Russian people, the likes of which many will never reconcile in their lives. Never. We're going to watch that access because all that Russia has been focused on is Pokrovsk and Donbass. And they have taken all the reserves out of the south, all the equipment out of the south. And if the line is going to crumble anywhere, it's going to be in the south, I believe. But we'll watch and we'll see. Now, the Ukrainians certainly did not waste any time last night and sent a whole bunch of drones into Russia. As I mentioned, the Taganrog aviation repair plant. That's just across the Sea of Azov in Taganrog. Was hit, it appears, by, again, Storm Shadow missiles or some unidentified missile. The plant repairs and services military aircraft, including the big AN-12 and IL-76 cargo planes, Su-24 bombers, Su-25 attack jets, as well as Mi-8 and Mi-24 helicopters. The facility is sanctioned by the US, the UK, and the EU for its part in supporting the Russian war. Baltimore Airfield in Voronezh, home to Russian Su-34 fighter bombers heavily used to attack Ukraine, was rocked by explosions last night. The governor said that 2 high-speed targets, identified by Exile Nova Plus as Storm Shadow missiles, were intercepted over the base. But can you guess what? You know what. Debris from the shot-down missiles did cause a fire on the territory of the air base. We don't have a good damage assessment from there. Just the good governor's word that he shot him down. Meanwhile, in occupied Sevastopol, the Black Sea Fleet HQ came under Storm Shadow attack. Again, a decision-making center for missile launches into Ukraine. Could Ukraine have updated flamingos? It's very likely. The current version of the Flamingo is already the 2.0, which includes some avoidance detection technology. Okay, Tuops is burning again, which is always nice. Now, the refinery itself is shut down, so they didn't attack the refinery. They attacked the storage at the refinery, the oil storage. And so several tanks appear to be burning at this time, but no sign of rain yet. Now, there's a lot going on the international scene. Everybody's under pressure. Russia is trying to exert the maximum pressure it can, and it's doing that in the geopolitical realm, in the larger state-to-state and mass propaganda playing field. Russia is getting hit hard by Ukraine at its most vulnerable and high-value points. Its oil and gas industry, which is literally the lifeblood of its economy, and on the battlefield as air defenses, radars, command and control points, open troop concentrations, and equipment are being shredded by the Russians, by the Ukrainians, sorry. And logistics lines are under severe pressure from Ukrainian mid-strike drones, threatening to cut off the supply of beans, bandages, and bullets to the entire southern military district, threatening the cutting of the land corridor to Crimea, and the full, true siege of Crimea beginning in earnest. Gas stations are out of gas, Nightshade. We're back to long lines at the pump and empty stations. Half the stations in Crimea have no gas, and lines at the others are long. Now, let's turn to the international scene and see what's happening out there. Turkey has cut imports of Russian Urals crude oil to 161,000 barrels a day in May. Now, that may sound like a lot, 161,000 barrels a day. But it's the lowest level in 18 months. And it's just about half year over year. So last May, the Turks were importing 302,000 barrels a day of Russian crude. They've cut that by about half. It's not entirely clear why. It could be a pricing issue. They were buying more when they could exert more pressure to get it cheaper. And now, with the current situation in Iran, they're not able to put that same pressure on them, and they can get it a little bit cheaper somewhere else. And it looks like that's what they're doing. It seems less a political decision and more of a business decision. Russia has threatened Armenia ahead of the elections. We're just about 6 weeks out, I think, from some critical elections in Armenia. And Russia is not happy with the direction of travel. And they are putting a great deal of pressure on Armenia to abandon all hope of an EU accession. Armenia, for its part, is pretty much telling Russia to go fuck itself. It's going to the EU. Now, how fast it goes or even whether it goes may well depend on the outcome of the next election, just like it did with Georgia. The Russians managed to sabotage Georgia's EU accession plans and install a puppet regime in Georgia that the people have been protesting against now in the streets every day for a year and a half, at least. It's a year ago November. So, yeah. Armenia is just a domino that keeps falling and Russia can't stop it. However, Russia is threatening very real threats. They are threatening to cut off all gas and oil supplies, as well as the supply of uncut diamonds. Now, frankly, this could be a lot of shit right here. It could be that Russia just doesn't have the oil and gas to export anymore. That's maybe why they shut off Poland and Finland. And who else did they shut off? The Netherlands last week. They may just not be producing enough to export it. And they're looking for bullshit narratives to cover the fact that they no longer have the production capacity. They don't have it. The infrastructure has been hit so hard by the Ukrainians. It's my belief that with a few more important and critical strokes and just a little bit more TNT, Ukraine could shut down all of Russia's oil exports. They could shut it all down. And I do hope that they do. I do hope that they do. Russia, our neighbors here, who are the worst, have come to an agreement with some of the worst people on earth, the Taliban. And that means that there's a new open door to more Afghani mercenaries coming to Ukraine to kill Ukrainians. That's what's going on. Daniel, we don't know if they're going to go to a full mobilization yet, but there are lots of signs to indicate that they are. Lots of signs. And it really does look like Putin is doubling down. He cannot lose this war, only he cannot win it. That is a tough spot to be in. It's 5, B-I-N-G-O, 5. Not too many Afghans have come to Ukraine so far that I'm aware of, but there will be some. I mean, the good news is the Russians know that they can't trust these foreign mercenaries, so they limit the number they'll bring in. It's really not many for next year. I think it's 24,000 was all it is. Okay. UK sanctions 18 cryptocurrency platforms, banks, and financial organizations it alleges Russia uses to bypass restrictions and fund the war. So congratulations, UK, another block of sanctions. Peter Pavel, the Czech president, has said that since 2024, the Czech shell initiative to buy 155 and 152 millimeter shells for Ukrainian artillery has resulted in 4 million artillery shells being delivered to Ukraine. Unfortunately, in the current economic times, 9 of the 18 countries that had participated in the past have withdrawn from that program. Half the partners have withdrawn. Now, President Pavel did say that Germany and the Nordic countries have remained steadfastly part of the program and continue to make commitments to the program. So hats off to Germany and the Nordic nations, especially to Norway. Where's all my Norway bitches? Where's all my Norway bitches? Let's see. Norway came up with $45 million to try to help keep my ass warm this winter. So Norway has pledged yet another $45 million. Thank you, Norway. Thank you, Kent. Thank you, Arna. Thank you, Lars. Thanks, all my Norwegians. Came up with another $45 million to help secure energy infrastructure for the upcoming winter. So thank you, folks. 50 countries condemned Moscow's attack on Kyiv, and particularly the use of the Oreshnik, as did the Pope. This was at the UN, though. 50 UN countries. There's like 200 at the UN. Only a quarter of them. Why did they leave the deal? People don't have the money. People are worried about it, right? It's maybe the Iran war, but definitely times are getting tough, Drew. I mean, I can see it from the way that my Patreon just keeps shriveling. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. All right, anyway. So 50 countries condemned, UN countries condemned the attack. The U.S. was not among them. I am sorry to say. We just do not seem to be able to point the finger at the instigators, the troublemakers. And instead, we punish the victim. However, the U.S. did deny a visa to Foreign Minister Alexander Alamov, who was due to attend a UN Security Council meeting. The Kremlin is pissed, calling it a breach of U.S. obligations and a disrespectful gesture to Beijing. So, somebody at the State Department did a nice thing there and kept that Russian bastard out of our country. Belarus. You know, Belarus has been playing this game of, I'm not touching you. Oh, I'm flying my helicopters up to your border. Oh, look, they flew away. No cause for alarm. Oh, look, here's my artillery. It's not touching your border. It's not firing at your border. It's just on your border. It's just, right? The son of a bitch has been poking the bear. That's a bad expression here. Poking the bat. No, that's no good either. I don't know. What animal do you associate with Ukraine? Lukashenko's been poking the sunflower. And the sunflower is pissed. And so in retaliation, Robert Brovdi from Magyar's Birds said that he has identified 500 targets inside Belarus that should we need to hit them, we are prepared to hit them. 500 targets in Belarus, including Lukashenko's summer house, by the way. That is not all. Now, I didn't talk about it. I didn't report on it because it's kind of esoteric. And it seemed to me to be more of just a gesture than anything else. But it turns out it's a hell of a gesture. And what I'm talking about is the fact that Lukashenko recently said, I am happy to meet with Zelensky anywhere in Belarus or in Ukraine. And then the Belarusian government in exile came, right? Because remember, in 2020, they had elections, a legitimate government was elected, then Lukashenko threw everybody in jail and chased the legitimate government out of the country. So there's a Belarusian government in exile. And they came to Kyiv and met with Zelensky. And I didn't talk about it because it seemed to me to just be not a publicity stunt. I don't want to say that, but just a performative gesture, right? Just to say, yes, we democratic people support other democratic people and the legitimately elected government of our neighbor. But it became something much more. The Belarusian government in exile opened a permanent mission to Ukraine. The Lukashenko embassy has been closed for years. There's no relationship with the Belarusians here. Now Kyiv is home to the Belarusian delegation in exile. Now, see, Drew, it could be more than ceremonial, right? Because that's what I thought at first. But think about it with me. If Lukashenko dares to attack Ukraine, Zelensky literally has the replacement government, the legitimate government, waiting to move into the presidential palace. That's the reality. So now if Robert Brovdi sends those birds to Belarus and takes out those targets, now we're in a position to move a legitimate government in. That's got to be freaking Lukashenko out. Got to be freaking him out. So that to me is the pièce de résistance of the week. Really beautiful, beautiful situation there. NATO is strengthening the eastern flank. They've created a new command structure that allows rapid deployment of up to 40 to 60,000 troops from Germany and the Netherlands to the Baltic states. This comes amid growing concerns from EU leaders that, in fact, Russia is getting ready to test NATO's Article 5, test the cohesion of the EU by attacking the Baltic states or a Finnish or Swedish island in the Baltic Sea. There are lots of things to indicate that Russia is preparing to expand this war, that they are preparing to expand this war and do some kind of general mobilization inside the country, adding 409,000 men to the ranks of the army, increasing it by 40%, a little bit less. Okay, that's it for me. That's the top line news today. Big thanks to Jan Halverson, who very patiently waited for his sponsorship to come up. Big thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group in the Book of Faces, and of course to the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk, Maddie, Feisty, Pete, Travis, and Tycho. Thank you all very much. So questions, comments. Somebody from Kyiv is here. Lol's video. How are things tonight in Kyiv? Quiet? Would Trump exercise his veto on an Article 5 trigger? That's not how that works. If Article 5 is declared, let's say that the Russians use as a pretext to grab Narva, a city in Estonia that's primarily Russian speaking. And we know that Putin just signed a decree to let the military go and support Russian-speaking communities that are being discriminated against anywhere in the world, right? Oh, what a coincidence. They just happen to exist in every single country that shares a border with us. So, God forbid, but it looks like it's something like this is going to happen. If the Russians went into Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania, that would trigger Article 5, and all NATO parties would then prepare their response to that Article 5. And the difficulty is that the language of the provision means that just about any kind of response is acceptable. Doesn't have to be a kinetic response. Nobody has to send, if they don't feel it's warranted, nobody has to send troops or equipment. They can send thoughts and prayers. So the United States is going to send thoughts and prayers. They're not going to come to the defense of our NATO allies. Not under Taco Tuesday. No way in hell. So what the whole point of Russia attacking would be to demonstrate or to find out what would happen. Who would stand up? What would happen next? I believe. I think people will step in, Pingu. I think Russia has never been weaker. Now is the time to act. If we could just bring a few more countries into this war in all seriousness, if even just Poland joined the war right now, Belarus and Russia would be free of these bastards in, 6 weeks. Germany has permanent contingents of troops in the Baltic countries. That's true. Yeah, the interests of the United States should not be decided by a guy who only decides on things that are in his personal financial interest. It's insane. Poland's going to build the USA a base. We're pulling all our troops out of NATO. I'm taking 5,000 troops out of Germany. Oh, but wait, I'm putting 5,000 troops in Poland, so it's even. We all know Putin would be using the N-word if another country joined. Oh, the nuclear word. Let him. What's he going to do? Put them on Oreshniks? I don't think so. I don't think so. Going to pull those RS-26s out of storage, are they? Doesn't seem likely to me. What else is going on, guys? Oh, did you see the Trump phones? The Trump phones have a flag on them. It only has 11 stripes. Hysterical. Trump plans to cut U.S. aircraft in Europe by a third. What is wrong with this guy? He is literally trying to destroy the American economy. It's unbelievable. You know, I was living in D.C. in 2016. And D.C. is a rough town, man, right? Like, you got to be careful where you live. Because you go a few blocks over and it's all pawn shops and gun shops and weed stores, right? Like, you got to be careful. I had this fucking guy move in next door to me. He had 5 children by 3 baby mamas. There were shootings at the place on a regular basis. He paid hookers for sex. I mean, the guy was a loudmouth piece of shit, which is why I had to move away from 1602 Pennsylvania Avenue. Weed stores. They actually don't have them in DC, Van, but it made the joke funnier, I thought, if I just threw it in there. Do you get it? It was Trump, right? It was 2016. It was Trump, right? 3 ex-wives, 5 children, shootings, blah, blah, blah. Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter. I was trying to make a funny joke. Graham Brody got it. Van got it. Nice. All right, thank you. We got 3 minutes left. Questions, comments. Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, Big Al. Thank you, kid. Yeah, that's one of the things that should be... Oh, wait, the Suez Canal. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Clive. 11 stripes. He stole the other 2 for himself. You're not kidding. America is like an insane asylum these days. It's crazy. Thanks, Dan. Night, Tycho. Night, Little Red. Night, Bernard. All right, well, that's it then. So big thanks to Jan Halverson, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peters Peeps group, and, of course, to the best moderators on the Tickety Talk, Feisty, Maddie, Pete, Travis, and Tycho. Thank you, guys. All right. That's it for me, kids. Make it a great day, and have a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.